Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I am so excited. I get to speak with a real life ghostwriter. Let me go ahead and introduce you to her. First of all, I'm going to pull up my notes like a big girl. Let's see. This is Danielle Perlin-Good. The Soul-Aligned Ghostwriter is an award-winning best-selling author and expert in crafting impactful nonfiction books. Specializing in empowering company founders, she helps amplify legacies through spiritual storytelling and authentic messaging. We love that here at As You Wish Publishing. With over 25 book contributions and a career spanning corporate marketing and publishing, Danielle brings a unique blend of mindset techniques, spiritual insights, and expert editing to her work. So you can learn more about her at the Soul-Aligned-Ghostwriter.com. Let me go ahead and put that into the comments here for us. So if you're seeing me out there in the world, please say hi to me. Hi to me. Oftentimes you can't see everything that's kind of going on here in the back office, but I do see some comments. I'm going to pull up, and if you have questions you would like to ask a ghostwriter, I can hear myself on the As You Write community. I just want to say you guys are amazing. I see a heart out here. I see some hearts and some fun stuff. So please hearting us. Please hearting us. Yeah, I think that's right. Thank you guys again for joining us. And I'm going to go ahead and bring Danielle on. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, Kyra. Thank you so much for having me today.
It is my pleasure. I am so excited because you have that same passion, that same drive that I do, specifically around authenticity and bringing authorship to, to everyone, to anyone who wants to write and be creative and use this as an intuitive, amazing, spiritual, emotional outlet. But also that those people who might want to publish it as well. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. That's right. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to chat more about ghostwriting and all the questions that you have.
So I guess the first question is, what is it? What is it, Danielle? What is ghostwriting?
That's the question of the century.
That's right.
To me, ghostwriting is where you amplify somebody else's voice because that person either doesn't have the time to do it themselves, they don't have the capacity to write themselves for whatever reason. Maybe they weren't trained as a writer. And a lot of times I find that person who wants to have a ghostwriter and understanding more about the field of ghostwriting, it really comes down to time and energy and the idea that the person just doesn't have the time to spend or the energy to spend to write their own story. So ghostwriting is when one person says, I will write for you. And that's what happens. They write for somebody else in the most basic terms.
Okay. And now, do you sit with them and talk to them and work with them on their project and get a feel for them?
Absolutely. So it's really critical to have a really great interview process. And for me, I have a 2-hour interview process for onboarding. And then we meet for an hour to 90 minutes on a weekly basis, same time, same place, same room usually. And the idea is that we have specific project deliverables and deadlines for both parties. So I am responsible for writing the material as the ghostwriter, and my client in a ghostwriting capacity is responsible for feedback of that material in a specific amount of time. So it could be a week, 10 days, what have you. And what happens is it's really important to make sure that we're on the right time schedule and it works well for the project engagement in order for us to have a really completed manuscript in 6 months' time. Now, It does vary a little bit. I do offer book coaching as well, and that's a little bit different than ghostwriting. And I know we want to focus our conversation today on ghostwriting, so I'll leave it at that. But it's a little bit different when we talk about book coaching, because more of the emphasis then is obviously the client is the one writing, and then I am the one giving feedback.
I gotcha. I gotcha. I think that so you do both. So we, I have lots of creative people in our community who like to write, who want to write,
Yeah.
but they might want some education or get a better understanding or get awareness around their work. And so you help them with getting that feedback and understanding.
Exactly. I just got off a call with a client that we're going to be wrapping up her manuscript soon, and I will be giving her a publishing roadmap, I call it. So I like to make sure that all of my clients understand where they go, and and you will be on that roadmap, of course.
Oh, I'm so happy. That makes me feel good.
Yeah, of course. And it's really important for my clients to know that they have multiple options, that they understand who can help them with their vision of their book, right? And what happens a lot of times with book coaching is I like to look at it as you're taking a class on writing your own book. And we talk about your why. We talk about, visualization exercises. I incorporate meditation. I have an index card exercise I give to my clients. I have a lot of different ways of getting it out. So sometimes we can get an outline done very quickly. Other times with another coaching client that I have just started with more recently, it's taken us a little bit more time to get a concrete outline because we were going back and forth in a couple of different directions. And that's also okay. But it's important to know what those steps are. For this last client that I was just mentioning, we kind of had to change our approach and talk a little bit about, okay, what writing prompts can be helpful for you to get that information out? And then how can that information be expanded in that, let's say, age gap, right? Are we talking about, personal growth stories, memoir, and, we're jumping around timelines? Are we jumping around ages? Are we jumping around subjects? What exactly are we doing? So with book coaching, we talk about and talk through how we organize that content in a way that resonates not only with you, but more importantly, your target market. So I incorporate spirituality, marketing, and logic, my 3 prongs, in all of my engagements, because I feel as though those 3 are really necessary in order to create a wonderful, amazing product at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And it's so important because writing is such I guess you could say it's uniquely introverted, it's such a uniquely introverted process that we almost always feel, at least all the writers that I've talked to a lot, feel like they have to do this alone. And what you're offering to them is an opportunity to not feel alone, to have a really clear pathway and guidance, and help them to express what they're trying to express, because sometimes we get caught up on that too. Yeah. So I think that's really key, to not feel alone.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think that, one of my clients who I was just talking about, who I got off the call with recently today, she actually had worked with a different coach before me. And the reason why she wanted to work with me was because of how I structured this program. And it's not just about, asking a lot of questions up front and to saying, all these prescriptive ways of thinking. The creative brain doesn't work that way, and we don't want it to work that way. It's not always logical, and we have to allow that flow to happen. We have to allow that creativity to express itself, especially if you're writing for yourself, if you're writing on a subject matter that really well, and your target market might not know as well. Then there are going to be gaps in what you're writing. And I am going to tell you where those gaps are. I will be very nice about it, but I will tell you.
Well, I know, it's for me, it's definitely the curse of knowledge, right? That's a cognitive distortion that I think a lot of people have. Like, if I work for a company and I have a bunch of acronyms in my mind, I already know what they are. But if I don't explain what they are to people who are just walking into this type of thing, like, for example, ARC. You and I both know what an ARC is. It's an advanced reader copy. But I cannot tell you how many authors go, what's an ARC? Why are you telling me? So now I put in parentheses everywhere. And so, and then my seasoned authors are like, why are you saying advanced reader copy everywhere? And so it's good to have somebody to take a look at, filling in those gaps and going, wait a minute, they don't know yet. You're teaching them,
Right. I look at it as, I am an instructor and these are my students. That's really what it is a class. It is, people are like, oh, you can't write a book in, a few months. I beg to differ. You absolutely can. And you should.
Yeah.
Because from my perception, if you take more than 6 months to have a publishable draft, I'm not talking about it being thoroughly edited. I'm talking about having all the information there, having it be a very decent draft, good enough to then work with an editor on in whatever capacity, and that really depends as well on how good that draft is. Do we need, a line edit? Do we need a copy edit? What do we need in order for it to be polished, right? Mm-hmm. There's a difference between publishable and polished, but my goal is always publishable because that's what we want to get to. Once we get to the publishable point, we can do everything else and it comes so much more easily. And the thing is if we write all these things down and we say, oh, we have to do it this way, we have to do it a specific prescribed way, then it's not necessarily that the case then that the person that is writing the book is going to know how to stay in that flow state and what that looks like and how that looks, right? And a lot of this has to do with teaching how to write. And some executives come to me and say, I really want to write my own book. Some other people come to me and say, I know that I do not have time or energy to write my book. I want ghostwriting. And it's really important to understand what that looks like from my perspective as well. So I also know how I can best support my client, right? Because I want to make sure that I have you in my schedule, that I am all in, I'm 110% on board with what you're doing. But we can't go back and forth on, oh, well, I think I need this, or I think I need that. Like, let's commit to each other to this project and move forward on it.
Dude, from your lips, it's so hard. Through the writer's ears. There is so key, and I am a deadline girl, and all of my authors know, you guys know me, and I have had to let people go. I've had to do all kinds of stuff. I've had to do re-up, things. I've had to do all kinds of stuff. And, we cannot want it more for them than they want for themselves. So I love that you have a structure that's followable. That's a word. Followable. That people can say, yeah, I can do that. And I think that most anyone can do a 6 months, book, or they can say to themselves, I'm not ready to do a 6-month book,
right.
And they can play with it for 10 years or however long they want to. Right. But I feel like having a commitment to yourself, your dream, your desires, and having someone that will say, I'm going to hold you to this, let's do it. Yeah. I think we all need that at some point. I mean, I do, and I have. Yeah. I mean, I was so mad. When I did our first collaboration book called Happy Thoughts Playbook. And one of my authors said, hey, are we doing this or what? Because I was so afraid to publish the book because it was a memoir. It was a memorial book for a friend who started essentially my whole premise of my company. Yeah. And I thought that me publishing the book meant that I had to stop grieving her loss. And so
Ooh.
that was a limiting belief that was stuck in there. And so I know how that feels to keep pushing it away and pushing it away, and then actually going, let's connect with why you're pushing it away. And I see that that's something in you too, as far as like, let's find out your why and make that so strong that it's undeniable. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I resonate with you so much. It's just that, kindred feeling of, yeah, let's do this. And yeah, it's scary, and that's okay.
It's always scary doing something new, right? It's always 100%, like fear will always be there, right? It will always be present in our lives in some capacity, especially when it's something new that we're dealing with. It just is. It's just a fact of life, right? But the other thing to keep in mind is when fear makes its way to our lives with this type of creative project, you have a couple choices. You can say to yourself, nobody's going to read my story. My story is not good enough. It's never going to be out in the world. And you can continue to let those limiting beliefs negatively impact you and the work that you're putting out there. Or you have the other choice, which is you say, I understand it's scary. I am admitting this to myself. However, I also know that I have something to say, and I have this inner voice that won't shut up about this idea that I have. And that's what's happening, I'm sure, to a lot of people who have worked with you, a lot of people in your audience, right? They have the other inner voice that says, no, you are not allowing this to sit in your desk and collect dust any longer. You are going to take that out, and you are going to be a powerhouse. You have this in you, and you listen to that voice. You know how they have, like, in the cartoons, there's like the devil's voice and like the God's voice or whatever.
Yeah, the two on the shoulders.
It's a real thing,
It
right?
is. It's like, no, just lay down, take a nap. It's fine.
Right. Or like I talk to people, you would not believe how many powerful people that I have had the pleasure of speaking with in the last few years who have said to me things like, I don't know if people are going to want to hear about my story. It is insane to me what people say about themselves when they're in these high-powered positions. I'm telling you, they're playing with millions, billions, trillions of dollars. It doesn't matter. Those voices will still follow you no matter how much money is in your bank account, right?
Yeah.
And it's so important to realize. And you know what I tell them, they're like, well, a lot of people have told me I should write a book. If somebody comes to me with that frame of mind, I say, well, do you want to write a book? And they'll say, well, I don't know. Or they'll say, yeah, I really do. Those kind of spark that discussion within myself, and I really want to do this. If they don't tell me from the first call that they really want to do this, they can't work with a ghostwriter or a book coach because it's not going to be a successul engagement. And that's something that I have learned the hard way over the years.
Yeah. Me too. It's such a fascinating process, and it's definitely a healing process. We were talking, I want to go to this one question that we have, because we just been rolling through this and doing whatever, which I love about us. I do want to just ask, where was this? Oh, yes. What's your favorite part about helping somebody amplify their legacy through a book?
I am so proud of them. I think being proud of the fact that like they did this and they came to me, they had this idea for the book. It was an idea, and the idea became a reality. And seeing anybody's idea become a reality is a big effing deal in my book.
It is.
And that's my favorite part, is just like this client that I just had, she's so proud of herself. She's like, I did not believe I could do this. Like when I met you, and you kept telling me, you kept pushing me, you kept telling me I could do this. And I was like, I don't know, Danielle. I don't know if this is going to happen. In our first 2 calls in our onboarding, we had a 15-page outline. That's what I do with my clients, that after 2 2-hour calls, I get you a 15-page outline. And they're like, are you sure you can do that? And I say, absolutely. I've done it multiple times. And there's a reason why. It's because you have a lot to say and I know how to organize it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is the most beautiful thing. I remember when I called someone, one of my authors, and I said, hey, your book's up, it's ready to go. And I was like, and she was like, okay. And I was like, wait a minute, you are not getting nearly as excited as I am about this.
Right?
Amp it up, girl.
Yes.
But really, she was just doing something else at the time, I know we do. But
Right.
It's so funny. I think I do. I really get as excited as anybody else does, publishing them,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have to, because the thing is that I am really invested in my clients as well. And, I also am very much of the belief that I don't like the idea of penny pinching in any respect. I don't do that. So I like to make sure, like, we promise between 3 and 4 months that the book is going to be in a publishable manuscript state, right? And that's really, really important. But what matters to me is making sure that, like, oh, our engagement is, over at this time or what have you. It's like, no, that's not what we want to do. I want to make sure that even if we go another meeting or 2, that you feel really confident and comfortable going to that next stage with the publishing. Because you know what? Having a happy client and having a really great relationship is way more important to me than getting money for an extra call, right? And it's like, that's not important to me. It's important to me that, like, they've already spent plenty of money and time with me. Why can't I spend an extra call with them? Now, if it gets excessive, that's different.
Right. We gotta still manage our own, self-worth.
1,000%. But I also, like, I feel like I've come to that point in my business also, and this is something to always look at when looking to hire a coach or a ghostwriter, to see what is the program, what's been successful in the past, what is this ghostwriter or book coach promising you in this engagement, and then are they able to help you with the next step, right? So whether or not they work with you or somebody else with, marketing, publishing, like, I have PR contacts, I have marketing contacts, like, up the wazoo, right? I have done that for a reason, because I don't want to do that stuff. But I want to have a list of wonderful referral partners that I can give to my clients and say, I have relationships with these people. Please let me know who you want an introduction to. Let's talk about who I think would be great for you. And most ghostwriters and book coaches will look at the manuscript and make sure that the manuscript is solidified and hand it off. And that's fine. That's fine. That's what a lot of people do. Okay, totally fine. Right. But the thing is that I have learned that, and one thing, and I know this is in here too, I have a few different answers to this question, but the question of what differentiates me is the fact that I have those lists, and I can make sure that your book doesn't just sit on the shelf. It's not, sure, it's an idea that went to a book that's now also still sitting on the shelf, right? No, we don't want that. Let's get it published. Let's figure out what that is, right? When I was on a call, this is a perfect example. I said, okay, these are the next deliverables that both of us need to do. Okay, great. So this is what we all need to do. Let's go over our homework assignments. What's our homework going to be? When are the due dates for this homework, right? What is reasonable and feasible for that homework, right? Coming up with those specific deliverables, not, oh yeah, it's going to be, whatever you think, right? I am very woo in my own way. I'm very spiritual in my own way. I love that stuff. I think it's really important to understand how the woo can play a role in unleashing vulnerable stories. I'm a big believer in that.
Mhm.
But I'm also a big believer in deadlines and making that
Telling
it's
you, kindred
in the
spirit.
sky, that the ideas come down to ground level, to 3D here.
That's right. That's right. It's so huge. I mean, I've talked to writers groups, where I've talked to people who are continue to stay in this limbo of not getting it where they need to be in order to get it published, or they just don't get to that next step. And I like that you encourage them to keep going.
Yeah.
To not get stuck there, because now you've done it, you've done the work, and there's it's not much, it's 95%, right? And then you've got that last 5%, you're just going right over the edge
Right.
a bit,
Right.
and in a good way, in a really good way. And that vulnerability of saying, this is who I am, this is what I'm saying, this is what I believe in, isn't easy. And
No.
it's not lost on me, because I've been there, and I published almost 70 books before I wrote my own.
Yeah.
And then I wrote my own, and I was like, oh my God, this is terrifying. I was
It
like,
is.
oh Lord, how much of the story am I going to share? I'm clutching my pearls. And then I'm like, oh, well, what was my why? My why was, I've got a lot of knowledge. I'm not going to die with it in me. This is going to serve someone after I'm gone, even if it's one person that randomly finds a dusty copy in the back of the library a million years from now, right? And that to me is huge. You know what? Oh my God, this is just a random thing.
Yeah.
But I recently came across this movie, this series, I guess, but they showed it to us in school. Like the librarians in the school showed us this movie, and it was called Tomes and Talismans. And it was this library series. Very weird, right? And it was very weird. Like the whole thing was very weird, but I found it on YouTube. So maybe I'll pop that link in here.
Yeah.
But it basically was teaching children in a very, fun and narrative kind of way how to use the library, how to use the Dewey Decimal System. But it was in a futuristic dystopian situation where there was no information available about the past, because this alien species had taken over the world and destroyed all the books. But they found this like underground like bunker with all of the books that they could salvage. And that's always stuck with me in this weird way. Like, if we have knowledge and the only remnants of our existence, a million years from now, are these books, what do we want to say? What are we leaving behind?
Yeah.
And that to me is like an even bigger why. It's a human why, and it's very interesting. I don't know. I just thought I'd bring that up. It's random.
There's a lot. I mean, no, I think it's great. I love that concept though, because a lot of people come to me because it's not only about creating credibility. I mean, that's part of it. And partially, somebody would want to write a book to increase not only credibility, loyalty with customers, consumers, clients, more speaking engagements, greater courses, greater clientele for consulting engagements, right? There's a lot of those reasons, but it's also about legacy. And I have had people come to me and say, I want my family to have this book. I want them to learn more about me and what I did and who I was and all that stuff. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing also in understanding and knowing, what somebody can leave behind, and understanding, especially if if you have kids, if you have nieces and nephews, if you have anybody in a younger generation who you're like, I would really like that person or those people to learn more about who I am and about our family history, or, that's usually an added bonus, right? My clients, usually it's credibility, speaking, consulting, all of that. But it's really great to also consider the fact that this is something to be proud of. That is a legacy piece for yourself, for your business, for your family. And that is a really big deal.
Yeah. And to this point, I want to share, we have a new collaboration book offering available for women-led business owners, women-led, female-led, womenpreneurs.
Women.
Danielle, yes, Danielle and I met each other through Entreprenista, which is an organization that we both belong to, which is wonderful. And it's really, it's a networking organization, but it's so much more than that. It is a woman encouraging woman type of situation. I mean, so many fantastic people are there, but I just created a new collaboration book offering, which you guys know is my heart and soul. Let me go ahead and just show you, present it, and where is it? There it is. Oh, da, da, da. Where am I? Where are you? Where is everything? There we go. There we are. All right. It is called From Startup to Stand Out: Success Stories for Women Solopreneurs. And I would like to kind of encourage anyone who is in business as a female-led business to write a chapter in this book. This is going to help with the up and coming female authors, female-led business owners, to have a guidebook, you know, essentially. But we have some other things here too. And I've got on this page, on the asyouwishpublishing.com/we write page, some prompts, writing prompts and things like that. And basically it just says here, do you have an experience that transformed your journey as a solopreneur? Did a pivotal moment lead you to discover your entrepreneurial path? What life-changing event sparked your success as a solopreneur? And do you have wisdom to share with the next generation of female-led business owners? And if we are a female-led business, we have plenty to share. Right?
Always.
Don't we, Danielle?
Always. So many stories.
Yeah. So if you're interested in that, I'd love for you guys to be a part of it. I know I have a lot of female business owners in our author groups, whether you guys are channelers, mediums, you know, to folks who are accountants, I mean, we have it all in our community. And so, so what Danielle was talking about was using your book essentially as a business tool, not just as, you know, not only as a memoir, although you can add in memoir pieces to your business books too, you know, telling people and showing people who you are, because we like doing business with people who are like us, that we resonate with, that we can see in their writing, because we see ourselves in that, you know. And so the book, the collaboration book, I have 24 spaces left in that book. I'd love for you guys to be a part of it. So I just wanted to give a little note out there. Raina is watching. Hi, Raina. Hi, Raina. Hi. You need to be in the collaboration book. You also need to talk to Danielle about ghostwriting. Raina has already written her own book. She's been in collaboration projects before. She is just a super phenomenal person. And so anytime we can connect up good people with good people, it's good times. So
I love that. I love doing that.
The Soul-Aligned Ghostwriter is where you're going to find Danielle. Yeah. We also have some places that people can find you too. And I just want to make sure I have that available as well. This is something interesting that I have not ever seen before. And this is your Substack. Can you tell people a little bit about your Substack? Because I went on there and I thought, how interesting is this?
So I am work in progress. The goal is to publish twice a month. So what I do have a goal of doing that, especially starting in Q1 So I'm working towards that right now in, being able to schedule some posts, having some advice. I have a free version, I have a paid version, and I'm currently figuring out and looking into what I want to share with my paid users versus my free users. And it's a really fun experimental process in figuring that out. It's really a blog. So it's kind of like Medium, but it's a blog. And the goal is to make sure that you feel supported and you have updates from me, not so often that it lands in your inbox and you never read it, because I have those emails too. We all do. The goal is for you to get some decent information about writing, ghostwriting, coaching, editing, um, different things in the news and how it's affecting these businesses that I'm in, and then understanding how that's going to impact you and your business, and understanding what you can kind of take away from those learnings, and then deciding if it's time to have an exploratory call with me and talking about, your next book or your first book or your third book or what have you.
Yeah, I went on to this. So just so you know, you can start out with the free. My dog is doing some things. Okay. It's a ghost. It's a ghost writer. It's a ghost. Sorry. I'm silly. So
Silly.
one second. Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, so
That's okay.
What was I talking about? Oh, Substack. So I've never heard of this before. It's so interesting. You go on and you can just pick the free option,
yeah,
right? And then, hi, honey. This is my husband. We're live.
Real life work from home.
Real life. This is solopreneurism in action. That's right. So, but I just clicked the free, and so I could see a lot of your blog posts, and they were phenomenal. Like, it's like one of those things where if she's doing this for free, what do I get when I pay her? Kind of moment.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the whole point, is to understand what I can give and then what those packages consist of, and that high touch, high level feel that you'll receive when working with me in a one-on-one capacity.
Good. And to all the thousands of viewers, that's our husband walking by. Okay, so let's see. I have a couple other questions for you, for our writers who are watching. How do you help your clients infuse the authenticity and soul into their books?
Great question. A lot of it, let's go back to their why, right? So we always start with what their why is, and having a greater understanding of who they really want to become with this book, what their market looks like in terms of target audience. And in terms of the authenticity, we want to get deep into stories as well. So we have to understand the why, the target market, to come up with the points that the author wants to make. And then we get into the story creation. So I call it a story bank of ideas a lot of times. And this is really important because humans resonate with stories. If we stick with, the the saying, show, don't tell. A lot of us have heard that before, right? A lot of people don't actually know what that means, right? So showing means really understanding what is happening in that scene. So we're telling a scene, we're telling the sky is blue, right? What else is happening besides the sky is blue, right? As I watch the sunrise coming up in the blue sky, I'm sitting on my back porch. I'm drinking my favorite latte that I made with my espresso machine earlier this morning. It's 4 a.m. No, you don't even have to say it's 4 a.m. because the sun is coming up, right?
Yeah.
So those are all the things that we want to infuse in the scene to incorporate sensory detail. We look at dialogue, we look at what else needs to be there, right? Obviously, the showing is different for every point depending on the type of book you're writing. If you're writing a business book, I worked on a book about fiber optic internet a little bit ago, and super random subject. You'd think it's really boring. Well, guess what? It's not if you have specific case studies about why somebody needs fiber optic internet to go to school, to get an education, to work, to do e-learning, right? There's a lot of specific stories and reasons why somebody would need fiber optic internet in a specific area in the United States of America, right? But if you just look at it a whole and say, oh, well, fiber optic internet has all these, governmental grants, and there's all these grants and all these things that, it's kind of difficult to understand, but you make people understand with story. That's the authenticity. That's the vulnerability.
I love story. I do. I love it. I think it's so fascinating because everybody has one, they have one, and they have this relatable connection to what they've gone through. I mean, even with like with the collaboration book, it's every entrepreneur has the same story to a certain degree. That struggle to come up with something they want to do, why they needed to do the hustle, why they needed to create a new way of doing something, or a business, or whatever. I mean, there's a reason why we get here,
Yeah.
and for me, I remember I was always that kid that wanted to have money in her pocket.
Mhm.
And so I would do whatever I could to get money in my pocket,
Yeah.
and it was really fun and interesting because, I sold vegetables door to door with my grandma. I did yard sales. I would do, if my other grandma needed something, or I'm like, okay, well, sure, and then, do I get a little allowance on that? so, so it did that. And then I kept squirreling it away, and I kept money under my bed, inside of my bed. I don't know what the hell was going on with me. Okay. I had a little lack mentality early on in life. I get it. But I always had that kind of drive to not have more, but to earn. I
Yeah.
liked earning. I liked value. I liked having that as a value, and
Yeah.
mattering to people, and helping people, and
Yeah.
having that energy exchange has always been really cool to me. I don't know. Maybe I just came into this life really weird, but I found it fascinating. So I think that, to some degree, a lot of us can relate to that, because you have to have a pretty strong why to be your own to do your own business, right? Because you
Yeah.
got to keep pulling yourself up constantly,
Mhm. 1,000%, every single day, every day, right? And to your point too, I have a journalism background in digital marketing, but what really has always drawn me is also stories. And I used to do reporting for the feature sections on different newspapers. I worked at the Tribune Company a really long time ago, back when there was a building on Michigan Avenue. If any of your audience is in the Chicago area, they know what that is.
right?
And it's really, stories really have always driven the reason as to why I have wanted to be in the writing and editing field. for as long as I can remember. I have always wanted to be an author. I've always wanted to share stories. I find stories so fascinating and interesting. I want to learn about, it is very hard to have surface level conversations with me. So don't ask me about the weather because I will tell you about everything else. That is my downfall, is surface level stories do not work well with me.
No, it is not a downfall at all. Just want to give a shout out to Manjeet, and Debbie. Thank you for joining us. I say hi to us. Say hi to us in the comments. Okay. So are there any questions on our list? Because I have kind of one last one. But then I want to go into our rapid fire questions.
Perfect.
Okay. If someone feels overwhelmed by the idea of writing a book, what advice would you give them? And also, I want to lead them back to you again, because I feel like you're a resource for people.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So if somebody feels overwhelmed by the idea, you have to break down anything in steps, right? I have a kids book that I read to my kids all the time. It's literally called Step by Step. And if you have children and don't have that book, highly recommend it. And it really literally breaks it down block by block, like one by one. Look at that. You got it done. That's one of the lines, right?
I feel like I need this book in my life.
Right? It's so funny how some of these picture books and children's books actually can teach adult lessons as well. And I look at that book and I say, that is something I impart on my authors. I don't necessarily take the picture book out and, start reading it, but very similar language, right? If you are overwhelmed with any task, anything new, the book is massive. It's, 50,000 words, right? Well, you don't have to write 50,000 words today. You don't even know what you're writing yet, right? I would go to your favorite coffee shop or go to your back porch or go in your room and do not have your computer with you. Just bring a notepad and literally start writing about the idea that you have for the book. That is the first step I tell people, because you know what happens? Otherwise, you have all these distractions, and turn your notifications off. Okay. If you need your notifications on because you have kids and you're worried one of your kids, it's flu season or what have you, fine. I get it. But if you're getting bombarded by, sales for Black Friday messages, right? It's like nobody needs to go buy earrings right now, right? You don't need to go on the site and go buy a new pair of leggings. Like you can do that later.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure because there's still Cyber Monday and then they have more sales and then sales galore on top of that. So you will not be left behind. Do not get into that mindset. Spend a half hour to 45 minutes doing the exercise. I promise it's going to help. That is one of my number one pieces of advice. I have a lot of other pieces of advice that I give clients depending on, where they are in the book process and what are they feeling overwhelmed by and, what exactly are we doing? And one thing that I tell my clients is something I'm going to be writing about in my Substack soon is my index card methodology, right? So if you're interested in learning more about that, subscribe to my Substack. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn, where I also talk about lots of these things.
So. Yes. Let me do your LinkedIn one too. Let me see where I find that. LinkedIn. We the Entreprenista world loves LinkedIn. I've noticed.
Love LinkedIn. So I have a lot of followers on LinkedIn. I post a couple times a week. Usually I engage a lot there, spend a lot of time there. And that's also a really good direct way of engaging with me. If you have a specific question or want to get on my calendar, that's one of the best places to do it.
Okay. I need to really get LinkedIn in my head. You know, like
I love it.
it's so like, I just don't think about it. I don't know why. I'm going to have to do something around that and take some classes or something, because I think it would also be a very good place for authors to
Yeah.
promote their books and sell their books, especially if they're business authors, you know, they're business book authors, you know, where they're using their book as a business card.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurs, you know, across the board. So
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, I got stuck, I think. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Let's see. So one other thing. Oh, rapid fire. Am I still getting stuck? Okay. Are you still with me, Danielle?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, you're good. All right, rapid fire. All right, ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Coffee or tea while writing?
Coffee.
Yeah, me too. Pen and paper or straight to the keyboard?
Oh, really depends. It can be both. If I'm feeling stuck, pen and paper. If I know what I want to do and I want to go for it, keyboard.
Mm-hmm. I am the same way. There is the activity of moving the hand across the paper. It's a very creative it connects the creative brain and the physical body and that kinesthetic feel. Whereas
Yep.
computer is very, I think because it's straight up letters, it's all very left brain. Yeah.
I have so many notepads on my desk and it works for me.
Oh my God. I take notes when people are talking, even if I'm just, you know, talking to them about things and I'm just writing what they're saying. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm learning. I need that kinesthetic connection in my brain.
Yep.
Otherwise I'm going to forget everything.
Yep.
And then I look at my notes and I'm like, what sociopath wrote this? Like, seriously.
I actually take notes in my HubSpot when I'm talking to prospectives, when I'm like networking, because I learned a long time ago if I put notes of calls in a notebook, they don't go where they need to go. But if I need to work on an idea or I'm stuck with, you know, an organization of something, or I just can't figure out where like one idea flows to the next idea for a client, that's when I take out my notepad and I can just start writing and I listen to my own advice. I try to.
Yeah, I got a new program called, and I think you have a note taking system too,
Yeah,
like
I do.
an AI. I have an AI system is called Fathom.
Oh yeah,
So I use that
Fathom's
one.
good
What is
too.
the one you use?
Otter. I use Otter.
Otter. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna look that one up. But
I
yeah,
love it. I love it.
so good, because then I go and I give my authors notes back
Yeah.
of whatever we were talking about, and it's very organized, and then they can go, oh, did she say there, you know, and they can just click a link and yeah.
I pay attention to what they're saying, I find. And I don't constantly take notes the entire time. I take like a few notes here and there. But I let the Otter do that. And then I say, okay, then I have those notes in case I need them. And I do the same thing for my clients. And I have Zoom recordings. So I put everything, you know, in our shared Google Drive folder, very organized with, you know, how clients receive materials and everything and knowing where things are. And I really care about being detail oriented that way. It's very important.
Yeah, yeah, you're so good. Favorite book as a child?
The Giver.
The Giver. Giver. Oh, The
Lewis
Giver.
Morris.
Which one was that? One was which one was that?
It's where the main character, it's a middle grade, and it's where the main character, it's a like a sci-fi dystopian world, and he doesn't like the prescribed way of how things are, and they like are assigned their jobs, and there's like people who are assigned to like be mothers, and people who are assigned to like give birth, people who are assigned to like do different things in the world. And this kid is assigned to be the next giver. And there's a lot, I'm not going to give more stuff away, but it is my one of my absolute favorite books of all time. It is absolutely
I'll have to get it.
I love
Yeah.
Lois Lowry though. I mean, Number of the Stars also changed my life. So, yeah, that's it's a very hard book to read, but very important. So,
Mine was Behind the Attic Wall, which was a very, very, it's a very interesting book. It's basically this loner kid is, forced to go to live in a new place and finds a little space behind the attic wall and is able to live in their own imagination for a while, or is it their imagination? Very cute. The Sack Man in the Grave, that one was a very interesting one. Like this baby, but that and that mystery of a kind of a treasure map type of thing. I liked that kind of stuff as a kid.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've always liked dystopian fantasy. Like, why should we questioning things that are in our world, and why are we the way we are? And I always had lots of questions. Always questions. That's why I'm an entrepreneur, because I ask too many questions.
I know, it's so good. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning.
Yeah, I'm more morning. But I'm not a morning person. I got to walk, crawl, scratch my way into the day, but I would prefer to do it in the morning versus night. Most inspiring place you've ever written in?
I'd say I went to Savannah, Georgia for my own writing retreat with a friend over the summer to work on my own book. And we'll talk about that eventually. But yes, I have. Yeah, that's a long story with that. So I'm not going to publicize anything with it yet, but I'm very excited about the trajectory of where that's going. And I really liked writing with, water in the background, like hearing waves, just being like outside is really amazing. I really enjoy that.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't really been anywhere kind of, the only thing I can say is that if I write somewhere that is very uncomfortable, that's usually better for me. Because I'm like, I'm writing as fast as I can, and then I'm going to leave. And because I got it all out and I'm in this hard back chair or whatever. And, it's almost like forcing myself in a way. One word to describe your writing style.
I would say engaging.
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, of course.
I'm sure there are other words that I could come up with.
Well, no, you do have an engaging writing style, because I went and looked at, she had some example writing that I could look at. Danielle, you definitely have an engaging writing style, because I was like, I just kept reading. So it is, it's good. Sporadic would be mine. What's your writing snack? That's right. What's your snack? What do you like to snack on?
Okay, there's two. I have two. So one, I put cashews with popcorn. So that's something I love. And if I want like a protein bar, I started getting these IQ protein bars. It's from this company called IQ. And I really like the banana nut flavor. That's my favorite. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to go through the rest of them and just get banana.
There you go. I want to say hi to Susan. Thanks for joining us, honey. Let's see. So what is my writing snack? I think I just stick, like I like to go to Starbucks and write, so I'll do, or a coffee shop. In Phoenix, it was Elevate coffee shop down there in Norterra. So if you guys are out that way, you might know of Elevate. And it's a very cool little place. You have they do have like quiet areas too that you can go into. But I like the feeling of the people talking. but I like to get a blueberry muffin and get a coffee and then, you know, just walk into the experience of writing. Let's see, beach, mountains, or city?
You know, if you asked me several years ago, I think I would have said beach, but now I say mountains.
Yeah.
Really love the mountains. Makes me very happy.
Yeah. I like mountains too. They feel safe, secure. You know, I feel safe to explore, you know, my internal world, not necessarily explore the mountains. You guys know me. That's probably not going to happen, but I do love that. I love to look at them.
I love hiking. Any chance I get,
you do?
Love hiking. Yes,
yeah.
I love hiking. Anything I can do that requires moving and walking, sign me up. I am there.
I love it. So let's see, fiction or nonfiction for personal reading?
Both, but I do fiction. Okay, I do fiction on audio and I do nonfiction in hardcover.
Okay, good.
That's my answer.
And finally, favorite quote.
Okay, I have two. Brene Brown says, everyone has a story or a struggle that will break your heart. And if we're really paying attention, most people have a story that will bring us to our knees.
Wow.
Number one. And number two is my absolute favorite quote of all time. Rabbi Hillel says, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when?
Yeah.
That was my quote at my high school quote. My quote when I was editor-in-chief of my high school newspaper. That was my favorite quote. It's still my favorite quote from when I was 18 years old.
Oh, that is so cool. All right. So how do people get back to you and get you?
Yeah.
How do they get you?
So either you can go to my website and fill out the form. And if you're interested in having a call and learning more about my services, fill out the form. It's a really good way, really good starting point for us to connect. I will personally send you a text message and we will start the conversation. And then the other way to connect with me is through LinkedIn directly. So please send me a connection request and then message me and say, hey, I heard you on, this broadcast, As You Wish Publishing broadcast. And I'd really love to learn more about, your services, or I'd love to have an exploratory call with you. I'm always open to that. Like I said, I really care about giving good advice and support. I think that's very important in our world, is to be kind, honest, vulnerable, and supportive. And if I can do that for one other person, then let's bring it. Let's do it.
That's awesome. Perfect. Danielle, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate you taking the time. Hang out for just a moment. And then we went a bit over time today, but I lost track of time. I got so excited to hang out with you. So you guys, thanks so much for joining us. I will gonna take you off here and I will close up.
Thank you.
Guys, how fun was that? Danielle is awesome. I'm so excited that she is in my life, my community, my life. And so I'm glad I got to share her with you. And please, please, please utilize her services. Just connect with her. Just see if there's some place where you guys can work together, because it's not just necessarily her writing your book for you, but she also has coaching and she has some other things. She has some wisdom that she can share with you guys. So please reach out to her. Again, that is out there at the Soul-Aligned Ghostwriter.com. Hang out with her for a bit and just learn what you can learn. I think she has a lot that she can share with you. If you are wanting to write with us for our next collaboration book, please go out to asyouwishpublishing.com/we-write and learn all about our current collaborations. Even if you missed this book, there's going to be books in the future. This is where you find all of our collaborations. I hope you have a beautiful, amazing holiday tomorrow. I'm going to take off tomorrow. Yay, in my pajamas. And I will kind of be back at it on Friday. And I'm going to be answering calls on our business line specifically about the collaboration book. So if you want to give me a call and you want to talk about it, I want to hear from you. That's 602-849-4500. And here we go. We're going to just keep on keeping on. I hope you all have a beautiful holiday. Stay safe. And I love you. I'll talk to you later.